Space Marines are humanity's champion military force. It is the Astarte that takes on the monumental task of fighting the galaxy's toughest aliens. In doing so, many battle brothers will eventually meet their match, and on the rare occasion that a foe fails to land a fatal blow, the unfinished battle becomes a quest for vengeance for the defeated Space Marine. Such was the case for the Black Templar Helbrecht and his rival Imotekh the Stormlord. And with that said, I want to welcome you guys back to another 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and today we're going to be talking about the Battle of Schrodinger 7. If you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. What I try to do is I create a video with a lore portion in the beginning, a hobby portion in the middle, and then a Q&A or a community portion at the end where I answer the questions or respond to the comments that you guys leave behind in the previous 40 Facts video. So if you have any questions, suggestions, or anything like that, comment down in the comment section below. But with all that said, let's get into 40 Facts on the Battle of Schrodinger 7. Late in the 41st millennium, the forces of the infamous Necron Overlord Imotekh the Stormlord, pharaoh of the powerful Celtic dynasty, descended upon the frozen plains of the imperial ice world of Schrodinger 7. The Necrons drove the local planetary defense force to their shelter of their labyrinthian mines, but were unable to prevent the planet's astropathic choir from dispatching a distress signal. A counterattack swiftly arrived in the form of a Black Templar strike force under the command of Marshal Helbrecht. Imotekh was not caught by surprise so easily and had already shifted his undying Necron army into a formidable defense configuration. Helbrecht led the assault, intended as a crippling alpha strike, but was instead blunted by a series of impeccably planned Necron ambushes on the Space Marines drop pod and Thunderhawk drop zones. As the frozen caverns echoed to the roar of explosions, scores of Black Templar and Necron alike were hurled into the rivers of molten lava. Eventually, Imotekh and Helbrecht met in single combat atop the heavy span of ice bridges. In the battle that followed, Helbrecht, driven by zeal and hatred of the Xenos, dealt Imotekh a dozen ruinous blows, but each time the Pharaon's living necrodermis body was able to quickly repair in a matter of seconds. Despite being the better swordsman, Helbrecht failed to land a truly crippling blow on his opponent, and as the duel drew on, the Marshal finally collapsed under the assault of the Necron Overlord, blood flowing from scores of serious wounds. However, instead of finishing off his opponent, Imotekh brought his war scythe down and merely severed Helbrecht's right hand to remind the Marshal of his much-deserved defeat. Helbrecht roared in fury and pain as Imotekh pitched him off the ice bridge to the frigid caverns below. The surviving Black Templars quickly rallied to their fallen Marshal's side and made a fighting retreat, leaving Schrodinger 7 in the Stormlord's hand. Following this humiliating defeat, Helbrecht swore an oath of vengeance against the Necrons in general, and Imotekh in particular, vowing that the next time they met, only one would leave the battlefield alive. And that's the lore on Imotekh versus Helbrecht. I'm sorry this is a really quick and short lore portion of a 40 Facts video. I'll get to longer videos later on. I've been feeling a little sick over the weekend, so I couldn't really film a larger lore portion. But what's cool about both of these characters is we have standalone 40 Facts videos. They're old videos, but we still have them on the channel. I'll probably go back to both of these characters, if not these topics, in future videos because the Black Templar Codex just came out. The Sound Alchemist actually picked it up, so that's going to be exciting to talk about that lore. And then also the Necron lore is coming too, just because I have a lot of Necron models to paint for a friend. Which brings me to part 2 of this 40 Facts video. Let's finish painting the Hexmark Destroyer. As you guys saw in the last 40 Facts video, all I had a chance to do was to prime this model black. Now unfortunately, my friend also assembled the entire model. When it comes to painting minis like this that have a lot of parts that cross over each other, kind of like the Hexmark's hands over its torso, it's better to paint and then assemble. At least that's what I like to do because I can get more of the details that way. But you can't really do anything about that, so let's just get into the first step. And that is to dry brush the entire primed model with a metallic silver. Now he looks more like a warrior made out of living metal. My friend collects the Mefrit dynasty, so the color scheme is going to be dark green and orange. At least I think it's the Mefrit dynasty, I can't really remember. I'll start off with painting the dark green armor parts. Once that dries, it's time to dry brush a light green highlight using a smaller brush. The highlight is subtle, but it does make a difference. Now we can paint the orange energy flowing through the model. While the paint is drying, it's time to work on the base. A simple dab of PVA glue followed by a sprinkle of sand and then pieces of corkboard finish off the actual base. Now I'll move on to the washes. I use a black wash for the Necrodermis parts and a red wash for the orange energy glow. All I had to do now was let the PVA glue dry. I made the mistake of placing the model outside to dry in the sun, but then I completely forgot about it and left it overnight. When I woke up the next morning, I noticed that the PVA glue completely detached from the base because of the morning condensation. I won't be able to finish the model in this video because of this mistake, but use this as a learning opportunity. Don't leave your models anywhere where there's high humidity when using PVA glue because it ruins them. And just as a reminder, if you guys want to get the finished look of this awesome Hexmark destroyer, just follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. I'm going to be posting images on there if I haven't done so already, because what I'm going to start doing is posting these pictures early on, so you don't have to wait for the video to come out. If you follow us on those platforms, you get a sneak peek of what's to come in tomorrow's 40 Facts video. So go follow us over there. The tag is usually just One Mind Syndicate. But now let's move on to the community portion of the video, or the third part, where I answer the comments that you guys left off in the previous 40 Facts video. I am taking questions and comments from 40 Facts and Lore on the Necron Overlord the Diviner. He was a Cryptek, I believe. Really awesome lore. Check it out if you haven't done so. But this question comes from Luis Gonzalez. I love the page and how you guys continue to grow. Thank you. Would you ever be able to make, would you be able to make a video where you rank the Necrons from the strongest dynasty to the weakest? They have such good lore and I want to start a Necron army. For entertainment purposes, of course, yes. I'm going to put that on my idea for videos chart that you guys give me. But I'm not going to be able, or I wouldn't be able to say that, like, based on the lore, you know, this dynasty is better than this dynasty. For two reasons. The first reason is, like, the lore is kind of hard to gauge. Some of them destroy entire planets, while others destroy, like, entire races. So that's it might seem like it's like, oh, cool, if you destroy an entire race, then obviously you're stronger than destroying a planet. But who knows if that race was actually as powerful as, like, this planet, a fortress world like Cadia or something like that. And then the other part is that Necron lore, the dynasty lore, has gotten way bigger this edition, 9th edition. It seemed like all the other editions, the Necrons were still kind of waking up and stuff like that. But GW has really stepped it up a notch, and these dynasties that are coming out now have more lore, and they're being more active, which is awesome. So, yeah, for entertainment purposes, I will make a rankings video, and thanks for the suggestion. This next question comes from Carrie Vaught. Does anyone else feel like GW ripped off Frank Herbert's Dune series for the large part of the universe? Probably, yes. GW, funny enough, I feel like they have taken bits and pieces out of every single, universe or world, put it into 40K, and now other independent or IPs are taking from 40K, and they're not liking it, even though they did it in the past. But that's GW. I think, funny enough, it has created, like, this really awesome universe that is 40K, the grimdark future. Yeah, like, I think it's pretty awesome. Now, as far as Dune, the Dune series, I've never actually read the books, but everybody does make the connection to 40K and Dune. They were around. They're like, they're relics of old sci-fi fantasy and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. I'm not too excited for the movie. The movie seems kind of corny with a little love story, but we'll see what happens. And then there was another thing too. Oh, whenever people say, like, GW is ripping off this or GW is ripping off that, I don't think, like, if you are a creative person, you're probably going to understand this. Everybody rips off everybody else, and that's how you grow as an artist. When I was younger, I was really into graffiti, and what I would do is I would take pictures of pieces that I liked, and then I would recreate them and try to use that same style with obviously my name. And then through that process, you just get so many different styles that you start forming your own style. So it's like, I like writing my G's like this person. I like writing my U's like this person. Oh, and if I write my R's like this, that the stick in the back, if I twist it this way, like the other writer, I found that I can do this with this one. And that's how styles grow. It is through the mimicking of other artists and through the exploration of new techniques that you got from practicing with other artists. So it's kind of the same thing in the creative world of, like, building a universe. Everybody takes from something. Funny enough, there's a friend of ours who's creating a D&D campaign with his own little world. And he's creating his own dwarf race. Like he's remixing the dwarf race. But even that, like, you wouldn't say that person is ripping off Dungeons and Dragons. You would say that person is just trying to build upon something else. So I would say that GW built upon the Dune series. It's building upon like other things, and it's crushing animators. Next question comes from Zero Noctis. Can a small Catan shard be infused into a small weapon like a Lich Guard shield? I don't know if they've done that yet. Catan shards are really powerful, so it would have to be a super, super like tiny piece of a Catan, and I don't know if that would have. I feel like it would be a waste. Like you see the Catan shards inside the Tesseract, I think it's called, like the thing that's capturing the Catan and stuff like that. So why waste it on a shield for a Lich Guard or a warrior or something like that? If you're building lore upon it, yeah, go for it. Especially if you're doing your own like Overlord or your Necron Lord. They have some really cool stuff that you could play around with. But yeah, usually Necron shards are powerful. Next question comes from Alan Netherson. Are there any instances of Imperial and Xeno coexisting on worlds or in a sector? Yeah, if you play the Blackstone Fortress box set, the initial jump-off point before you get into the Blackstone chip, I think it's called Precinct or Precept or Precipice or something like that. Like the actual, I think it's just an orbital shipyard or something like that. I don't even think it's a planet. But that is like a location where different Xeno species coexist with one another. Could that happen in the Imperial, like in the Imperium? No, because the Imperium won't allow that. Now, there are stories of planetary governors trading and allowing certain Xenos to kind of coexist with humanity, not directly living with them, There have been situations where that has happened, but then usually the Imperium finds out and they destroy that planet. Or the Inquisition finds out and they kill the planetary governor, purge that Xenos, and all that kind of stuff. So it's rare. It's usually outside of the Imperium, but it does happen. Next question comes from Rome Lazo. If Necrons don't have Psychers, how do they travel from one part of the galaxy to the other? That's a good question. They basically use physics-bending technology to do faster than light travel. We actually have a 40 Facts video on all the races and how they achieve faster than light travel. I'm going to put a link up above. You should check it out. It's an older video, but it's still pretty good because it goes through each race, like I told you. Next comment comes from Badger13X. GW stealing history from the Council of Nicaea. It was an actual event in AD 325. Yep, the Council of Nicaea was supposed to basically solidify certain doubts that they had about the theology. Because remember that Christianity is really just a conglomerate, or the Bible is a conglomeration of different sources of who Jesus was. At least that's the First Testament. Or is it called the First Testament? No, what's it called? The New Testament. That's what it is, the New Testament. So the New Testament is basically like a bunch of sources. Kind of like when you would do like projects for school, especially if they were science projects, you wouldn't take a person's information and then just like copy and paste it. Or you would, but you would do multiple sources. The more sources you have, the more you can validate like that thing. That's kind of what the New Testament was, and these councils, because there was one before the Council of Nicaea that actually bound together the Bible, like created the Bible. These councils were there to like solidify the theology, like I was saying. And GW didn't really steal from that history. Again, going back to that whole thing of like nobody's really stealing, especially when it's a creative platform. They are building upon the Council of Nicaea and gaining inspiration. Because remember that the Council of Nicaea, or Nicaea, however you want to say it, in 40K was to establish whether the Astartes legions were going to use psychic powers. That has nothing to do with the Council of Nicaea and trying to figure out like Jesus' life and stuff like that. But yeah. Next question comes from Drink Shamwow. Idea: what would happen if a mech boy joined the Tau? Mech boys don't join things. Mech boys, like, they are the most, is arrogant a good word? Like they're in it for themselves, their own gains. What would happen, and what has happened in many stories within the Orc Codex and the Tau Codex, is that mech boys or freebooters get hired by the Tau. They work with them, steal their weapons, modify them. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Modify them to make them shoot here, kill here, and then turn it around and kill the people that they got it from. So that's what would happen. Next question comes from Frederick Brenchley. Brenchley? Yeah. Again, love your life videos. Where did you live, and what do you do when you are not 40K'ing? Not trying to be weird, just curious. Well, thanks for that. Do you mean like you love the daily life videos? Because those are fun to make, and it's also kind of fun to find art for them, because usually the daily life videos are like Imperial Citizen stuff, and there's some pretty awesome artists that just do grimdark, like post-apocalyptic type of art, and then I get to throw that out there and stuff like that and showcase them. So I live in Illinois, and what do you do when you are not 40K'ing? D&D is a big thing. That's pretty much it. My life is just gym, food, work. Well, I guess I do a lot of things then, because I was like family, going out with friends. I'm just like a typical boring person. I don't play video games. That's the one thing that's a little bit different than most of my friends. Most of the 40K friends play some type of video game. I do not. But yeah, I like to draw sometimes. If you follow us on Instagram, every now and then I'll post like little drawings and sketches that I do that are 40K related on the channel, or on the page, the Instagram page. Again, One Mind Syndicate. But yeah, I would say that I'm a pretty creative person. So when I'm not doing something creative in 40K, like terrain, painting, or making these videos, I'm usually doing something creative in another field. But yeah. And those were the questions so far. If I didn't get to your question, sorry. I'll try to answer it here on the page. Thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk tomorrow. Hit the like button, share with your friends. And we have a Patreon if you want to support us. It's just $1 a month. I appreciate you guys. And yeah, this is Gershwin of One Mind Syndicate signing out.